Greetings, family. You are listening to the Zion Heights, the Roots Juice Breakfast, and today I would say we have a very special show. You could call it a revolutionary special going on. I am joined in the studio by a very special guest. So far, he's released 4 studio albums, getting ready to release his 5th album. Brothers and sisters, please welcome to the show one like Gregg Green, straight out of Gregg Green and the Innersoul band. Brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself for the people and tell us a little bit about the
All right. Gregg Green is my name, and I was born in Holland, in the southern part of Holland, where we are, presently. And but I moved around a lot. Like I moved to Paris around my 18th birthday and studied some there and did some work there, went to school, got to know some people, had some good experiences, moved to Hawaii, and then in Hawaii met some more people and got some more experiences, and then finally ended up in New York, Brooklyn.
Okay.
Yeah, and had some went from a boy to a man, really, and got embraced by my community and just it shaped me as a person, as an artist. And then a few years ago moved back here, and all the while did some worked on music, got here, ended up here in the studio and recorded the last album, the present album that I'm working on now.
Yeah, man.
Well, actually we mixed it and I recorded it somewhere else, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go a bit more into the album in a minute, but you mentioned there about obviously living in France, Hawaii, all these different places. Tell us about the experience there with those like musical missions, and yeah, man, how did people react to the music?
I mean, it was cool. Like I just I felt like I wanted to get out, because it was a small town, and I broke up with my girl, and the walls were closing in. So I was just like, sometimes when you feel uncomfortable, it's easier to move. Like when you're comfortable, then you don't really want to move because everything is there, and you just, you don't really. Why should I leave, right? But then it was really uncomfortable for me because of the situation, and I wanted to see like different parts of the world, and. So I went to Paris as a au pair, a child caretaker, and so what it was, the mission was daily, basically just clean up the whole house and looking after the kids, so we have fun and helping them with school and everything, and around the way I met like a black French crew that became my people, you know what I mean? And then we started hanging out. We had different, and that's why I got introduced to the quote unquote urban music of Paris, suburb. But at the same time, there was like local musicians living in the street. A guitar player, he took me under his wing and took me around, showed me like Albert King. I played the blues for you, and around the time they had Ben Harper I was getting introduced to. So it was different musical styles and just the flavor of the real Paris flavor, on a street level. And it was cool, man. It was just learning about the music, but also the culture and how much respect, especially reggae, had around the world. Like you hear about it, but now you get to see it. Like every culture is touched by reggae music and also blues music. You know what I mean? Because the blues is like the root of a lot of the things that's going on in other music. Like hip hop music and jazz and everything. So like blues and reggae is like, and that's how it came to be. That I feel like the folk music is really blues and reggae. Those two musics are the ones that speak to me the most because that's where the people live. What I mean?
Yeah. So would you say that your music and the new album as well, like how would you describe the musical flavor then of the album?
Well, it's a mix. Like musically, it's what's different is that it's the first time like the engine of the music is like live musicians in one room playing together, and it's also musicians that really played together Before this album, I had another one where musicians, they kind of sort of play together, but not really. So it was just studio musicians coming together and playing. Where this was like people that actually knew each other, so that translated into the flavor of the album. The interesting thing is that none of the musicians really played reggae music.
Okay.
Right? So me coming from like a New York flavor is people just get into it. You know what I mean? Like they know reggae because it's everywhere. They know all music because it's everywhere. And so they have a knowledge of it even if they never played it. So coming over here, like, you know, knowing the history of reggae is also like a lot of reggae musicians before reggae was born, they play jazz music. You know what I mean? Like, like you know, all the different musical styles. So you had calypso, you had what is mento, and you know what I mean? Like, and then all those came together to form ska and reggae, rock steady. Right? So my initial thought was, well, if they play jazz, they could play reggae. You know what I mean? Because it's just like it shouldn't be that much of a switch. And then even in engineering, I was like, well, an engineer is an engineer, and I was so wrong because it's like it's its own thing. You know what I mean? And it's very much its own thing. And I knew that before, but I didn't know it was that much of a transition from, you know, the players that I play with now. They play they play jazz, and they read, and they play, and they good, but they never play reggae like that. Okay, you know. And I don't really consider myself a reggae artist necessarily, but I love it, and I've been around it enough to know, you know, certain ingredients it needs or it has to have and all that. And that was just an interesting experience for me, you know, to know that it was that much of a difference. Because like being in New York, like people just play music and they just play, and some read, some don't, but mostly it's about just being in the moment and playing. Because you can read all the music that you want. If the people are not feeling it, then fuck you reading for, right? So then coming over here, I was like, well, they have that knowledge of reading and doing all these things, but then it's like, I felt like some of the spirit was missing, you know, with some of the people, and that was just interesting for me.
Yeah, man. Okay, so the band is called Innersoul Band.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about the band and how it was formed then.
Well, the band, well, the concept was formed a long time ago. I used to live in Bed-Stuy, right? And then was in an apartment building. There's a staircase that goes up to the roof, and I used to just take my guitar there because of the echo in the hallway, and I would just sit there and play guitar acoustically and just come up with songs or just write on the wall even and just whatever, right? And that's where the concept was born of Innersoul in Brooklyn. And kids used to just come check it out, listen and participate, or ask me to play certain Jay-Z songs or whatever. Yo, can you play that? And I'll be like, doom, 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 you know, and they would go crazy, right? So that was the concept of Innersoul. Now the band, well, the idea behind Innersoul is really, I was thinking to myself, like, establishing a label, like, okay, where do I make my music from? Where does it come from? It comes from, well, it's soul music, right? Where it comes from my inner soul. Like, it comes from a place deep within, right? To where it's like everything I do is through that filter of my personal experience and bringing that out. You know, it's really nothing superficial, even if the song is superficial sounding as far as like love songs and things. But it's really, so that's where that comes from, the Innersoul name. Yeah. The band came about, I had a gig in Utrecht, okay, and invited, I think my pops played the trumpet, and I think I met the bass player through him, and and a drummer, and we did a gig. It was an okay gig. It wasn't great. It was just very, you know, it was cool, but it's like you see the growth that needs to happen. And so after the gig, Uli, the bass player, came to me and was like, yo, and the drummer came to me and was like, yo, you know, it was cool, but, you know, basically what we need to do is, you know, once we get the rhythm section together, then you could put everything on top of it, and then it'll stand. The music will stand, and then, you know, we can move from there. And I was like, wait, so you're saying that we have a band now? You know what I mean? Because it wasn't no guarantee. I just called people in to do the gig.
Yeah.
And then he started talking in a way like, okay, so the band needs this and the band needs that, and this is what we need to do. So he was like, he was where I was, like, oh shit, we got a band now. And that was the first time in my experience that I actually had a band that, you know, we doing something this week, coming back, and then we picking up where we left off the next week and building on that, you know. And then as far as, so it was automatic for me that the name would be Innersoul. And then actually Ben suggested that I name it Gregg Green and Innersoul because there was a lot of inner souls out there, which I didn't know, but like he was like, well, if you want to stand out, then you need to use your name, and so that people know that it's you and not just whoever.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask as well, how did I first get into music? I did read online that you come from a musical family. So tell us a bit about, you know, when growing up, the influence that music did have on you, and how you first, you know, found yourself then making it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was everywhere. You know, it was basically just in the genes growing up. You know, like through the DNA, and then also growing up. Like my mom used to be a booker, manager, so she would have people calling her to do gigs in the area, and my dad would play on the gigs, and so the music was always around. And the thing that was very much what I liked was the personalities of the people. You know, if you know musicians, they crazy, right? So then, but good crazy, sometimes bad crazy, but like just different. And that's the part that really attracted me, is that, you know, one day I just woke up, was like, well, I'm a musician not necessarily because I'm a musician, but I'm a musician because everything, like you can be everything that a musician is and not call it that, but everybody knows you that. Like an artist might walk around a certain way, might dress a certain way, and not call himself an artist. It'd be like, and it'll take somebody to be like, yo, you an artist. And that's how I woke up one day. It was like, well, I think like a musician, because when I look at myself and see how I think and act, it's like a musician. Because if I look at a mathematician, it's like they think quirky, you know what I mean? Like nerdy, and they have certain things about them. Like the same thing with DJs. Like from what I know, is like they think very much in samples. You know, even if they're not dealing with music, they just got like, well, they think compartmentalized in a certain way, and that's typically for a DJ or a producer. And bassists, like sometimes you look at bass players, like, hey, you the bass player. I know that because I could tell, you know, and so that's how I came up. But I didn't play a music instrument until like 18. When I was 18, my homie from Brooklyn, he bought a guitar, and then he left back. He went back to East New York, and he left me his guitar. And we all wanted to play music and study guitar and just play. And because we were so into the music and into reggae and hip hop and jazz and classical even. So we all had that desire, but I guess I'm the only one that stuck with it. And my dad, like I said, he played music. He's a trumpet player, one of the nicest ones out here. And also it became like a outlet, you know, like I started writing and playing music at the same time, and it was just magical match. It it was just like, yeah, that's what the doctor ordered, right? Like the, you know, it just felt natural to do.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Okay, so I do notice, what I notice about the Eyes music is that there's a lot of focus on the lyrical content and the word sound and power. So can you tell us about, tell us a bit about, well, let's talk about the new album. Tell us a bit about some of the themes that you touch upon lyrically in the album.
So the subject matter?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, just whatever the experience is, right? So so it's freedom time. Like there's an interview I saw, I think was with Michael Jackson, I think it was, and he said one of the best things you could do is stay out of the music, like get out of the way of the music. So not force anything. So when ideas come up or names come up, it's like, yo, that's nice, and kind of just works with that, and so it's real organic in that way, right? And so the songs kind of create themselves, and it also is like it lays there for a little bit, and then you hear something, and it's like, oh, I could be standing ordering food, and I hear a horn line, and I record it with my phone, and be like, yo. And then I won't copy that specific horn line, but that's the idea that I want for that particular song or whatever. But the lyrical content is just what I saw and see. One of the things was the disconnect in society, right? So one of the things that got me was, I'm talking to my friend, and like we seeing police killings, and we seeing all this violence go on, and political unrest and injustice, and then you listen to the radio and you hear bullshit that has nothing to do with anything real. That has nothing, right? That has nothing to do with anything that's going on in the street. So if you like, well, that's a main source of information that people are getting, and all they're getting is, yo, we're going to the club, we're going to hang out, do nothing. We're gonna sing a love song, which has place in life, but it's really like, well, damn, if your house is burning, you're not gonna, you know what I mean? You're not gonna watch TV. You don't deal with the house first, right?
Yeah, man.
So that's kind of what I felt. So then when I wrote Freedom Time, it was like I used the sample for Lumumba's speech. Yeah. Right. So that was the one that got him killed.
Okay.
And basically that's the same sentiment where they transferring the power back over to the Congolese, right, or to the people of the land. Yeah. And then but they kind of going over, like, the Belgians were so friendly and great and noble and good-hearted, and then you like. Then you see what happened, and you like, wait, what the fuck y'all doing? This is real? Like, you really just saying that it was all good? Like, you chopping off arms and legs and doing all this crazy stuff, and so this man stood up. Yeah. And that's kind of what it is, and it's like, it's just reality, and just putting it in music form, or just calling it. Calling it, you know what I mean? It's like, yo. So when I said something like, exploit our people, and abuse our people and exploit our culture, right? So when you look at what's going on, that's exactly what's going on. Yeah, man. So if you have, like, when people appropriate the culture and don't give respect to the culture, yeah, man, and you just take it like it's yours, you know. That's a problem. Yeah, man. So then, and at the same time, you're exploiting people, or you're abusing people, you're beating them down, you're killing them, and there's no justice behind it. Nobody's getting convicted. You get other people that's raping and killing, and they never go into jail. They never get no justice served to them. Yeah. That's a problem. Yeah, man. And that's all. It's, I didn't write that. That's just how it came to me. It's like, yo, this doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. When I see that happen, and it's like. And I thought, like, yo, what is it that people want? It's freedom, right? They want justice, freedom, basic, right? Like Peter Tosh, right? When one of the things was like equal rights and justice. Yeah, man. So if you if you look at it like solution oriented, right? If you want a solution, where do you start? What is it that people want? Now, if you treat people justly, if you have the same idea of justice across the board, right? Then it's like, then it won't become a situation where it's like, well, we're not expecting justice anyway because we're black, right? Or we're not expecting anything good to happen because we already know how the system treats us, right? So, but if you have justice across the board, then it's like if you have a white boy raping the girl that's unconscious, going to jail or getting served justice, then it's like, oh, okay, all right, we could work with that, right? Or if it's like, and then it doesn't really necessarily become a color thing, because then it's like, yo, we don't want murderers around us. We don't want people to do wrong around us. But when you create an environment where it's like nobody gives a fuck about you anyway, then it's like, yo, I'm gonna get mine. I gotta live. I gotta survive. You know. So I was like, well, people want justice, right? People don't do bad things because they're bad people. People do bad things because they survive, and then people call it bad. But really, what's bad is the ones create that environment, right? And people don't focus on that part of it. They focus on the effect. But if you go to the cause of it, then I feel like a lot could get done, and that's also a form of justice where you know, people work, people get compensated for their work, enough to the point where they can provide for their family, and then build and pass it on to the next generation. And then and if you're proud of who you are, like if you have a job, then you already feel like I'm worthy of contributing to society, but first and foremost to my family. And then if you own something, then you feel like you want to take care of that. So why would you bring your own neighborhood down? You know, trash your own neighborhood on purpose if you own in this place. So then, but that goes for everybody. It goes for white, black, everybody. You know. But that's why I said, like in the rap verse, it was like it's well documented, and also common sense that violence comes when there's poverty. But then you flipping it, you making it like it's in my DNA to be violent. Like because I'm black, I'm violent. That's nonsense. You know? Because the same thing goes for, like, say, English ghettos. You know what I mean? Like there's a war on poor people, basically. You know.
And you know, I mean, we were reasoning a lot off mic before, so I'll bring up a couple things that we was talking about. You know, related to what we just said. We was talking about the reparations march. You know, and how a couple years ago it was demanded of the UK government reparation payment. In particular, this was for Jamaica, and instead of doing so, the Prime Minister David Cameron actually come out and say, I have no interest in reparation, I will have nothing to do with it, and instead goes and builds a prison over there, you know. So
so the thing we're talking about is, like, you know, just the settling of the historical inaccuracies, right? So when people talking about Europe brought Africa civilization, that's backward. You know what I mean? So it's like, because you know, physically, and you know, Africa's the root. You know, like So, and that has nothing to do with saying that one is better than the other. But then if white comes from black, then that's just scientifically that way, right? So if you have something that starts somewhere and you tell the truth about this starting there, you're not lying and you're not being disrespectful to other people. It's just the way that went, right? So in order, like the way we were talking is like, okay, this happened that way, but then somewhere along the line people started flipping it and started lying about the origin and started, like, you know, putting black people in zoos, human zoos, and then having everybody believe the propaganda of, you know, black people being less intelligent, black people being less clean, being all negative things, right? So then we were talking about, if you tell the truth about that, then you're on your way to rectifying what is and changes people's perception and mentality of it, right? And then at one point we said, well, if you tell the truth, you save so much more energy than when you tell a lie, because you have to now tell another lie in order to make up for the first one, and then tell another lie and another lie.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Yeah, man.
But we both agree, we see it happening, that they really keep this lie
man.
going
they ain't
and
giving
just
it up, you know?
and just stack lie upon lie.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so with the repatriation, or the reparations, one of the things about reparations is I went to in a college class, and we did the math on that. We did the math on if America decided, look, we're gonna pay reparations, right? And there's a whole lot of stuff in the laws in order for, like trickery, you know, in order for black people to become citizens, then they have to give up reparations, or the idea of reparations.
Okay.
Those two cannot coexist, right?
Okay.
So that's why I say trickery, you know what I mean?
man.
Because it's so. But when we did the math in class, it was like, okay, so the way we went about it was like, you have one slave, the amount of time they worked at one plantation, so the cost of the one slave, the cost of the amount of years, and what you would pay a worker, right? All of that, and then multiply that by the amounts of slaves, and you have women who also have babies who also become slaves, and all that, right? So you take the one slave, then you take the family, then you take the plantation, and then you multiply that with all the slaves throughout history. They can't afford it.
Yeah, man.
They can't afford it.
Yeah, man.
So that's why, like, they you know, like, in order to avoid the question, you make it ridiculous. You understand? Because it's like, if you really want to get into it, first of all, they would have to humble themselves beyond the fact of, like, we did wrong, but they have to humble themselves to the point where it's like, yo, there's no way we can afford this. And then they would have to be humble, like, yo, I'm sorry, and I don't know what to do because I don't have it. I don't have the money. I can't.
Yeah,
so they're never gonna do that.
Yeah, man.
So then instead they like the trickery in the laws, they're gonna flip it and say, yo, if you want to be a citizen of our country, right? Then you can't. Then you got to give up the quest for reparations, and you're never gonna get that money, right? So then that's another trick, another lie, and then they're gonna keep that going, and then that's why I'm even surprised at how serious the conversation around reparations has become. You know, like, people are actually looking into it.
Yeah, man.
You know, which I never thought would happen, because I just call me cynical, skeptical. But I mean, if you live in a country that shoots innocent black people for no reason, and then the people get off, then where do we start dealing with reparations?
Yeah,
man. You know what I mean?
Asking for help from those who are.
And it's not even help. It's asking. It's not even asking. It's just more like what should be done as a person, or as a country. It's like, you fucked up. You gotta make up for that fuck up. You know, that's how I raised my son, or my cousins and my family. It's like, yo, you did that. Yeah, you gotta undo that, or you gotta apologize, but as a country, they just keep going.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we said as well about a lot of people finding it uncomfortable, you know, when people bring up reparations and these kind of things, and a lot of people have that same idea of, oh, well, it was so long ago, so why would you still talk about it? And you know, but yeah, man.
No, man, it's just goalpost shifting, you know.
Yeah, because when we can see, you know, like that I said, if something was to be done, it's not that people are parading it because they want to stick it in your face. You know, the effects are still there. So if something was to be done about it, to fix the problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you could even, you know, because the question now becomes detailed to the point where who gets what, and then you have, you know, the races of mixed, so then how much do you give a mixed race or whatever, all of that, right? So then structurally. So if you structurally start talking about the disadvantage, who is the most disadvantaged in society? Well, you black people, right? And then you look at who put in the work. You know, everybody put in work, but like the perspective coming from as an immigrant, that's when you build yourself up and you being treated like dirt. But over time, you get the opportunity to do better for you and your family, right? Now, that is different than being a slave. And then after slavery, you get another form of slavery, and then another form of slavery on top of that, to where you in the you live in the 2000s, and you're still getting killed.
Yeah, man.
And there's no justice.
Yeah, man.
Right? Like, so the story is different. And that needs to be addressed. So, but then just the same way you could run down an area by redlining it. If you know redlining, for those who don't know redlining, it's just basically you put a red line on the map and say, well, people are gonna live here,
okay,
right? And also just and it's a racist practice. The way you can make it not racist sounding is basically you just up the rent to where people can't afford it.
Yeah.
So like Upper East Side, like a lot of people can't live there because they just can't afford it. And then you say, well, it's not. Well, if you're black or white, look, if you have that money, then you can live there, right? But they know that certain people are not going to make certain type of monies. And even if they do, like say in the drug game, like a lot of people make good money. Then they have a different rule. Well, you have to prove your income. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
Ways,
and then even if you could do that, there's another thing and blah blah blah. But what you can do, reparation wise, you could stop arresting people for, what I mean? Petty crimes, like not petty crimes, but just like non-violent crimes, what they call crime, like smoking weed. You know what I mean? Man. Which we know the system, we know the politics behind it. It's just filling up the jail cells for workers, to make more slaves or whatever reason they have behind that. There's a war on black people, right? So you can do that, and the reparations thing, you can build up the schools and you can build up the areas that people live in. Because I lived in Bed-Stuy, and then when I first got there, it was all black, and then nice area, nice people, but some situations wasn't taken care of. Like you had fences with open lots, and then nobody was living there, nobody was doing anything. So it looked like in development, right? But then when it became gentrified, all of a sudden it's a laundromat. All of a sudden is a bagel store, and then it's like, and then for a second we were like, yo, that's nice. We get these things, yo. Like, all right, this neighborhood really looking up, and then we find, oh shit, nah, but it ain't for us. It's for them. So you create a discontent, and you see that it's possible. That's on a one-on-one level, but like the government could do a lot of things in the area to have people feel safer, to feel comfortable, to want to be there, to give back to the neighborhood. You have a lot of stores that's being owned, like Malcolm said in the 60s, it's like, in order to, the way you create a ghetto is to have, you put your money in, somebody else takes it out, right? So that's why it was so important to own your own business, so that you give to your own people, so that the money circulates in your own community, so that whatever you spend goes back into your community, and then your community flourishes. And then when you have something that flourishes, you become proud of that, and then you want to take care of that. So then anybody that's detrimental to the welfare of your neighborhood, like, you're going to have an issue with that. You understand? And that was what the Black Panthers was about. You understand? So like, and then whoever was detrimental was the police. You know what I mean? They came in and started wrecking, creating a very uncomfortable situation in the neighborhood. You know? So that's what that is, man. Like just the coming back to the lyrics and the music. That's just what I see, and I write it down, and then you know I write down the ideas, and then I step back and just let the music do its thing, and just become a channel to write it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And I mean, with the gentrification, like we said, we see the same thing happening in the UK. Let's take Brixton, for example.
Yeah.
Big up everyone in Brixton looked in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in the area there, like obviously before even my time, I hear all stories about Brixton. You know, it's always had the reputation as this cultural hub. And then even, you know, in the last 5 years, even from what I can see, you used to be able to get out the station and enough Ital places and Caribbean places and enough vibes going on. And now when you go there, it's gentrified. It's now, I think, one of, if not the most expensive part of London to own property now. You know, and yeah, it's like you said, people is being pushed out that can't afford it. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's similar to what we was talking about. Like with my man, like I think he posted online somewhere where people come in the neighborhood because they're attracted by the culture of the neighborhood, but then they start complaining about the culture of the neighborhood when they hear when people play music, and then it's too loud, and then they call the police because the music's too loud, you know. So it's funny, man, because like also in Manhattan, in the village where, you know, the artist area, that was actually the poorest area where nobody really wanted to live. Also later in Williamsburg, it was just in, you know, like lofts where it was sketchy to live there before, you know, and but then there was artists, and the artists attracted clientele, like the people were interested in the art, and then it became booming. And then it became a hub for people to check it out and to really get into it. It was a nice place to be. And then it became unaffordable to live. So then the artists actually moved out. And then you have a similar situation going on in Williamsburg. And that situation becomes the same. So it's like nobody can afford it no more.
Yeah.
And that's funny how that goes, you know, because a lot of good art comes out of poverty. You know, and out of like unsatisfying conditions, and then people, you know, check out the art and they dig it and they invest in it, and then it becomes unaffordable.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back onto the album. Obviously, we talked about the tune Freedom Time. Yeah. You have a sample, an excerpt from a speech of Patrice Lumumba.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the other figures and, you know, revolutionaries that inspired your music.
Shit, like not just my music, but my life, man.
Yes,
like I love Malcolm X, man. Just the fact that he's an independent thinker, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that, because one of the hardest things to do is to think independently, because you could resist what's going on in society, you know what I mean? And then you have a following, and then the following is with you, and then you lean to this side of thinking. It's like with Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah.
But then what if a Republican, you know, nobody's all bad? That's where yin and yang comes in. Like, nobody's all bad. So it's like, what if they have good ideas? That's why I feel like it's too divided. You know what I mean? Because really what you need to do is not focus on party, but focus on good ideas. And this is what Malcolm was about. It's like, yo, yeah, we have this ideology, we have this religion, black nationalism. At the same time, I got my eyes to see, and the more I experience, you know what I mean? I reset my knowledge. So it's like, first it's like this, then it's like that, then it's like that. You know, and I respect anybody that does that, because now you're telling your audience, I'm going in this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Like, it's difficult to do, man, especially if everybody's like, yo, we all in for this cause, and then he's like, well, my growth tells me that I'm not going in this direction. So you already automatically, not everybody might agree with that because it's difficult, you know, because they might not feel the same way. Like Krishnamurti was like that. Like, you know Krishnamurti, the Indian philosopher.
Okay.
And he was that same way. He said, I don't want nobody to follow me because it's like I'm not nobody to follow, you know. I just look at my truth and I go with what that is, but it's always changing, you know. Because if you're not changing, then you're going backwards, right? So it's like if you have more knowledge, you can do better. Like, you know.
Yeah, man.
There's a lot of people that started here and then ended here, and then you see the transition that they made. That's what I respect, you know. So, like, obviously, you know, I love philosophers. I love other musicians. Love, you know, like Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, man.
What's funny about Marcus Garvey is that when I didn't know about him, I thought it was all black all the time, everything black, because that's all I knew about Marcus Garvey. Then I started reading his book. Like, I read his philosophies and teachings or whatever, back then, and that was deep and dope. And Noble Drew Ali in Philly.
Yeah, man.
You know,
I think I've heard the name.
So that whole movement, much respect to that. And then, so you got but Marcus Garvey, like, when I read his book, like, it's two things that stand out. It's like he got a lot of support from white patrons, which I found very surprising, or very, you know, it's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, man. Even the Klan.
Right,
some
like
controversy around that, you know.
But see, go ahead,
Yeah, man. I mean, from my knowledge, you know, there's a lot of people that were angry and kind of gave up on Marcus Garvey at that time because they say, look, he's he's partnering with these racists who want to kill all black people, and you know, really what he was doing, Marcus Garvey, was about back to Africa, and nobody is gonna sponsor the Black Star Liner and all these things. So who are the people that might sponsor it? Well, it might be these racist people that don't want no black people in the country, you know what I mean? So so Marcus Garvey is a revolutionary, man, and obviously, like you say, some people they don't catch on to what he's doing, you know what I mean?
Nah, like with so like I said, the two things that surprised me is like the support he got from white people, the fact that he grew up amongst, like, he's talking about a little girl, white girl that he knew, and then later on he saw the rate, like he was introduced to racism later. You understand? By just the system, like her parents telling her not to deal with him no more, and then he was like, okay, what's that about, right? So, and the fact that there was that other black people, especially light-skinned black people, were fighting him. You know what I mean? That you would expect white people to fight you, and then you got other people fighting you, which makes no sense. Like, those are two revelations so far, because I'm still reading the book. And it was like, yo, that's very interesting, you know. And the same thing goes true for another one, you know. My heroes like Bobby Seale, where he's talking about the Black Panther Party as being revolutionary or being for all people. He stresses that a lot. Like, it's not just black people. Like, yes, we have a need and it's very important, but it's not. It's all people that seek justice. You know what I mean? And I think when you talk about KKK and things like that, is I think you have work, like if you look at working class, right? Because I did a lot of working class type jobs, and I never had problems with white people, working class people, because they're honest, right? So it's kind of like, if you have a disease, then you assess the disease and then you can treat the disease. That means you have to be familiar with the disease first. So if somebody like a politician or a slick talker, they keep avoiding the issue and they keep being very politically correct or very snaky, then you can't really find a solution, because they never will acknowledge that there's a problem in the first place, right? If somebody tells you straight up, yo, I don't like you, and this is why, then it's like, okay, then I know where I stand, and I could work with that. right?
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like. That's where the change comes in, because when I'm telling you this is my problem and you telling me that's your problem, I mean, I might be like, well, we're not all like that, but I can't deny everything you say, because a lot of my people do this and a lot of your people do that, and he'll be like, well, yeah, I can't disagree with you on that, because you know what I mean, like, and then then you find out, well, we're humans and we have human characteristics.
Yeah, man.
Right? And then on the basis of that, it's like, fucks with you, man. I don't have to love you, but I can.
Yeah, man.
You all right,
Yeah, man.
And I don't see that happening on the top levels of society.
Yeah, exactly.
Because these people stay lying, and it's the same people. If we both in the trenches, then we both suffer the same consequences of the rules that they make. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why I see in society now, it's a whole war between, like people are divided because they're all struggling.
Yeah.
But the struggle is not coming from me. I don't have it like that where I can have the power to make you struggle. Yeah, and you don't have it like that where you had the power to put me in a position that I can't get out of. Yeah. It's coming from up top.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is a rich and a poor divide?
That's where it is. That's the main thing. And if the rich are very much keen on keeping their wealth, man.
Yeah, man.
Remember?
Yeah, man. I mean, the whole of the British Empire and all of these empires, look at what they're built on, and they're not willing to let that go and give that up, Nah. Even I see Haiti, the first country to abolish slavery by force, or the first country in the world to get rid of slavery, and still I don't know if it's finished a couple years ago, probably not, it's probably still ongoing about they're paying reparations
them paying reparations to
France. France lost part of America because Haiti kicked them out,
That's craziness right there. Like everything that goes into it, man. That when I heard that the first time, I was like, wait a minute. So you get exploited, and now you have to pay your exploiter to what? And then you can't get no reparations. Yeah. It's not even that you can't get reparations. Yeah. No, you paying reparations. Yeah. Because your freedom. Yeah. Because wait a minute, you fought for your freedom. Like anywhere else, that would be celebrated as it's a true hero, man. Like these people are true heroes. You know what I mean? Like, like the Jamaicans that fought with the Haitians. Yeah, man. Like I have Jamaican friends, and they're very proud of being Jamaican, and I love it. So the first thing when I told my friend Larry McDonald, you know what I mean, about the Haitian, when we talk about the Haitian Revolution, like he's older than me, so he has a lot of wisdom and just experience, and it's almost like I come across one thing and say, oh yeah, and he'll just go into a whole, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, okay, that's what experience is, okay. And he said you have Bookman, that with Toussaint, I think they rolled together, if I'm not mistaken, and they brought about the revolution and everything, right? And yeah, man. But just the ridiculousness. My friend at my job at the time, he's Haitian. He told me about that. I was like, he told me, wait, so you fight for your freedom, and then you got all these countries that fight you first and they can't conquer you, and then they cut you off monetarily, so you become dirt poor, so they won't do business with you. So then you can't start your economy up to this day, right? And now you have to go back and humble yourself and pay France. That don't sound right.
You know what I mean?
That don't sound right, man.
It's not right in any way. So, okay, so another track off the album called Liberation, while we're on the topic still. Obviously, physical liberation is one thing, and mental liberation is another thing. So could you tell us a bit, about the reality of liberation?
Well, for that particular song was what I find a lot in across the board, that children have a lot of dreams a lot of time, or young people, or anybody, any free thinker, you know what I mean? And and then you see the resistance of other people. Like, what is that saying where they say people that think that it can't be done should move out of the way of the people that's actually doing it?
Okay.
Right? Some to that effect.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, if you have something in your heart that I can see it, I want that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then other people, they can't see that far, and they just like, and they'll project their limitations onto you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I see that a lot, like where people want to reach beyond what the norm is, or what, as far as their family came. Like, you know, you have first-time graduates of high schools, or you have musicians, and then their parents didn't want them to become musicians because it's not lucrative, or they want, you know, a lot of times with the best intent, like good intent, because it's not a lot of money in it sometimes, and they know from experience, like, yo, you need to eat, so you need to work, so you need to have some type of income, stable environment for your family. It's not a bad thought, right? But I also feel that if you have a passion for something, or if you feel like in your inner, like, yo, there's something I came here to do, and I know what it is, or I have a direction, like I gotta go this direction, you know, like to just not be stopped. Liberation in that sense is like, think free, be free, like follow your passion, you know what I mean? And what I think it says, some don't believe what they cannot see, you know, and then they try to tell you what you cannot be, you know what I mean? Don't let them tell you what you cannot do. And then I said something like, just keep on moving right beside you, right? That kind of was influenced by was the Albert King, where he the album is called "I'll Play the Blues for You," and he said something like, yo, he said, take it and take it further. You know what I mean? Go ahead, young brother, and take it further, and then we'll be with you. You know, that whole sense of community, and all the people that's seeing what you're doing and with you. I feel like if you have an honest spirit, and you know, and you just keep pushing, people going to either add on to it, or they're going to egg you on, or they're going to keep the negative from you as much as they can, because they see you doing right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
And that's what I was trying to say. Like, anybody that I see is doing good, I want to help them. You know, and that's what that lyric is about. You know?
Yeah, man. So basically, quickly before we seal up the reasoning, your first album came out in 2011.
Yeah.
World Citizen.
Yeah, 2010, 2011, right.
Okay. Can you tell us about you know, how's the sound evolved from that time till this new album? What kind of sound can we expect?
It's a good, I think the first album was like more like a novelty thing, where I just had a lot of scratch material laying around, and I just try to make it a cohesive sounding album, and you know, printing it on the actual physical disc. That was the whole process when you're doing something for the first time. It's like, you know, you do the whole thing, right? Like the sound evolved because, you know, now I'm dealing with live musicians, and like I said, it's not just getting them in the studio and then playing it one time, but there's actually a growth in the sound. You know what I mean? Like when you study a song and you perform the song, and then you perform it again, and you go rehearse it again, and it's like, wait, what if we do this? Or we just, you know, arranged it a little bit different for effect, or for this or that, or we take out the drums because you know, the vocals will sound a little bit clearer if we take, you know, the business of all those little things. Like, I didn't do that before. Like, I had nobody in the sense of like a band or whatever. I just had people that were like down with me, and they added on to the sound. But basically, it was like a patchwork of songs, and that was it. And then over time, it became like the way of recording was having the studio, the musicians together in the same room, just like with Motown, the Snake Pit. You know what I mean? Where you have that mojo of the bass and the drum especially playing together, you know. Now together with actually playing the song over and over to see what is the best outcome or what works, what we like the best. And then you get what you hear now is just the togetherness of those instruments and elements, and also the personalities of the people, right? Yeah. So in that sense, it grew. Lyrically, I mean, I never changed the way I wrote because I don't really feel like I wrote it. Like I write, but the filtered out thing is kind of like an inspiration. Like, oh shit! Like when you find something or you see something that's like, yo, that'd be nice. That's more the creative process, right? And but like musically, that's what that is. It's just togetherness of people and really treating the music like it's our baby, you know. So in that sense, it's not my music, and that's it's really just, you know, all of our baby.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like that's it.
Yeah, man. And so I did want to ask, how would you say that one can use music, or even yourself, how do you use music, you know, as a weapon or as a tool, I would say, of, you know, enlightenment, especially in the times that we're facing now, yeah?
You open up people through music, right? Like with meditation, it's hard to make a point when you're fighting with someone, right? So somebody's screaming at you and you want to make a point, and then you start screaming over each other, and it's like, you know, and then you never get the sense that you get your point across because you're so busy fighting each other. It's like, yo, music does the opposite. Yeah, man. You know? Yeah. So that when you play music, people feel good. You know? So it's like, yo, I feel right. And instantly your vibrational level, you know, and it's in the molecules and in just the energy and everything. And so once you have that, and then you have a message on top of that, then there you go.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah, man.
And, you know, and what's interesting is there's two ways to go about it, positive and negative. Because if you look at like Hollywood, what they do with the beta waves, or when you watch a movie, and I love watching movies, but you got to stay awake, you know? It's like you watch it, you get lulled to sleep, so you become really receptive on a subconscious level. And then they plant seeds on you.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So then they use it for their programming.
Yeah. And people don't realize when they watch a movie, it's just a movie. But so it's not like that.
So then everything in life could be for good or bad, or for just people's agenda, and then it becomes a trickery thing. Yeah. Whereas if you have an honest spirit, really what it is just a reminder. I feel like when you recognize the truth, it's a reminder of what you already know, right? So it's like, yo, I'm feeling that because I know it's true. Like I know it on a certain level, like to be true. So if you have honest music and honest lyrics, then it's gonna resonate, you know. I feel.
Yeah, man. Yes, I. Okay, so what's the title of the new album as well?
It's Street Blues.
Street Blues.
Yeah.
Okay, so there we have it. Gregg Green, Innersoul, Street Blues, brand new album, 5th studio album. Are there any more tracks off the album that you want to kind of highlight right now?
I mean, all of them, man. I mean, Street Blues itself, because it's a really beautiful saxophone solo on it. Like my man Paul Mundy, he played a baritone sax on it, and I sat next to him because I recorded him playing it. Okay. And it's just while he was playing, I was like, yeah. I was like, yo, damn. I'm very, very happy that this is on my record, you know. And just the vibe of it, and just the journey of all the musicians involved. I'm really grateful. But not any one particular song, you know. All the songs, I did my best, and currently working on the next album, you know. Okay. So, I can't wait for this one to drop. You know? Yeah.
So the next album after that is already in the works.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So lots more music on the way. Yes, So brother, give thanks for the time, give thanks for the work.
Thank you, man.
Yes,
and
I.
Earthworks and everybody here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
If you could pick one tune from any artist, obviously we're gonna play some tracks from the album. But if you could pick a tune from any artist anywhere in the world to play for the listeners right now, which tune would you pick and why?
Wow, see, first thought would be Peter Tosh, man,
Yes, sir.
and it'd be Fight Against Apartheid.
Yes, sir.
I would pick that one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Love Peter Tosh, man.
Yes, sir. So there we have it, brother. Give thanks again. And if people want to check out the music and follow the movements and these kind of thing, where do they need to go online?
mean, they could go on Instagram, follow Gregg Green, or they could go on. I stopped Facebook because it just got me. It brought down my energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just didn't really. So yeah, Instagram, and go on YouTube where you can check out live shows and live recordings and album recordings and everything. But I'm easy to find. You just type in Gregg Green and you'll find me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.